Honestly, I hope my last video about Flock cloud-connected AI cameras got you thinking about your own situation at home. Tens of millions of people have browsed Amazon or have gone to a big box store and bought a Ring, Nest, or Arlo camera and felt a wave of security wash over them. Or maybe it was D-Link, Eufy, Philips, Aquara, Xiomi, Wyze, Tapo, Blink, or Amcrest. There are really too many to count. Regardless of the brand, though, it's so easy that it's almost magical. You screw it into the wall, scan a QR code, and suddenly you've got a god view of your porch, driveway, or nursery on your phone. Guess what? Some of you have been viewed, through your own cameras, by people you didn't grant access to. You see, that convenience is a Trojan horse. You think you're buying a security system, but what you're actually doing is inviting a tech company to be your permanent, uninvited roommate. One who keeps a copy of your house keys and could theoretically sell your habits to the highest bidder. These companies all sell you on the cloud. It sounds fluffy and safe, right? See this? It's a t-shirt I had in the 2000s. And in case you're just listening, the shirt says that there is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer. And it's true. The cloud is just an internet-accessible server in a data center owned by somebody else. In case you have some ideas of how secure these things are and how professionally your video data is being handled, let me share this with you. In 2023, Ring had to pay $5.8 million to the Federal Trade Commission because, get this, employees and contractors had unfettered access to customer videos. We're talking about people watching footage from inside bedrooms and hallways for testing? Sure, employees were fired years later for unauthorized viewing, but I'd say that's too little, too late. Then there's the Neighbors app, which created a digital porch-to-police pipeline, allowing law enforcement to view footage without a warrant. It was like the Flock Fourth Amendment violation, Home Edition. They finally stopped warrantless access in 2024. It wasn't just that, though. Hackers harassed users through the camera's bidirectional audio. Ring was bought by Amazon in 2018 for about $1 billion. Amazon, as of the date I'm writing this, is worth nearly $2.1 trillion. Presumably, if they had wanted to fix this access and privacy nightmare at any point, they could have. They just didn't. I mentioned this in my Flock video, but Ring, under public pressure, just dissolved a partnership with Flock Safety. Reportedly, the partnership was intended to help find lost pets, or whatever, but we don't really know how deep the integration was intended to be, and we never will. Google's Nest is in a bit of an awkward situation. They unearthed critical video, which is evidence in the Nancy Guthrie case. What's the problem with that? Well, the issue is that, according to Nest's data retention policy, that footage should not have been available anymore. To put some more context around it, the data was supposed to be deleted after 6 hours. The FBI recovered it 10 days later. So Google has video well past when they're supposed to. How long do they retain it? Do they keep it forever? In case it wasn't obvious, the longer these companies retain your video, the more likely it will be accessed, copied, or otherwise used against you. Amcrest, Xiomi, and Wyze have had issues in the past with customers seeing video feeds from other people's cameras. Oops. The last bit of data handling trivia is that some Ring and Nest cameras don't even have end-to-end encryption, opening up the possibilities for data interception. The takeaway is that you should not have a presumption of privacy or security. If the main question is how secure your data is, the real answer is you don't know, and there's not a good way to find out, except maybe when the next lawsuit settles. And it's not just privacy, it's also reliability. There are a lot of links in this chain. The cameras, your internet connectivity, the backend server connectivity, the backend NVR, the viewer endpoints, and the app. In testing, we like to talk about the happy path. In simple terms, everything is good as long as everything is good. However, if your internet goes out or if Amazon's servers have a bad Tuesday, your security camera becomes a useless piece of equipment. It stops recording. It's one thing if you're using your cameras to watch your dogs while you're at work, but if you require high uptime, it's not ideal to have a critical service that's so brittle. This isn't a theoretical problem. On the screen is an AWS outage that took down Ring services for over 2 hours. That wasn't over 2 hours of not being able to access your cameras. There weren't any notifications, video recordings, or anything else for that period. You're paying a monthly subscription fee for the privilege of being vulnerable to service outage. And let's talk about the cost. It's not like you're getting an outdoor security camera with the idea of not having it for several years. Depending on the brand and the model of the camera, you will spend anywhere from $25 to over $400 for each camera. Because these are cloud offerings, you also have to pay a monthly or annual fee. This is often per camera, but some vendors like Ring, Nest, and Blink have unlimited plans too. One camera can set you back between $20 and $100 a year. Inevitably, though, people who get one of these cameras will generally get more. 3 cameras will cost between $60 and $300 a year, with several of the companies coming at $100 a year for their unlimited plans. Even though these cameras are meant to feel inexpensive, they're typically not, especially in the long term. Something to keep in mind is that these companies can change their prices on the cameras and the service plans at any point. Since you're locked into their ecosystem, there's really nothing you can do about it. And then there are the operational quirks. Battery-powered Ring models often have a retrigger lockout period where they won't record back-to-back events, potentially missing an intruder. They're also notorious for significant audio lag and two-way talk. A byproduct of the battery chemistry and battery-powered Nest cams and doorbells is that they cannot charge below freezing. Even if hardwired, they may die in the winter because the wires only trickle charge a battery that is too cold to accept it. Arlo users frequently report a 5 to 15 second delay between motion occurring and receiving a phone alert, making real-time interaction with a delivery person nearly impossible. Most Blink cameras rely on a proprietary sync module. If this small box loses power or Wi-Fi, every single camera on the system goes offline instantly. Wyze cameras have connection stability issues, giving frequent error code 90s, or device offline issues. Recent firmware updates in 2025 and 2026 have caused some older models to struggle with consistent live view loading. Some Tapo cameras are bricked during automatic firmware updates, requiring a manual SD card flash or a warranty claim to fix. Amcrest cameras are pretty good, but their mobile app is often cited as buggy and dated, frequently losing the saved credentials or failing to load high-resolution streams over cellular data. Philips is dependent on HuBridge, with an architecture that's similar to Blink. If your HuBridge experiences a glitch, your security cameras and lights may stop communicating, leaving you with no detections. Xiomi and Aquara users in the US or EU sometimes experience choppy video or timeouts when trying to access playback from the cloud due to a lack of server localization. Of course, nothing is perfect. The reason I'm picking on these companies and their products is just to remind you that you're buying into a specific product ecosystem. If you buy a camera from one of these companies, you're likely to buy future cameras from them as well, effectively locking you into the quirks and pitfalls of the company and their products. Plus, there's no guarantee that the platform will continue to perform consistently over time. So what, you might be thinking? Who cares if I'm locked in? Especially for more expensive cameras, you may be looking to amortize the purchase cost over the service life of the camera. After all, these cameras could theoretically function for a decade or more. The problem is that companies aren't looking at these things like they're long-term products that they need to support. Perhaps it isn't explicitly planned obsolescence, but some of these companies are just shutting off products when they feel like they're sufficiently old, insecure, or both. Google did this with Nest drop cams. Amazon did it with cloud cams. D-Link has done it, as have tons of other, lesser manufacturers overseas. My opinion is that it doesn't matter how cheap your camera is if you only get to use it a few years. And in case I'm not being clear enough, the economics of these cameras are awful. You're buying something that's tethered to a system that you don't own or control, and your camera can't work without it. In the event that your camera works forever, you pay forever, and you're effectively locked into a product line that may not have cameras with the cost profile, performance, or features you want. Unless you're new to the channel, you already know where this is going. Why delegate something critical to a third party when you can self-host? If you want to reclaim your privacy without losing the tech, you need to learn a 5-letter acronym: ONVIF. ONVIF, or Open Network Video Interface Form, is an 18-year-old specification started by a few companies that designed, manufactured, and sold security cameras. The idea was to have a standard that allowed cameras, and the equipment that works with them, to be universally interoperable. The standard has grown over the years and includes support for tons of products outside of the original concept, including access control hardware. When you buy an ONVIF-compliant camera, you aren't locked into a specific app or manufacturer. You own the hardware. You find these from brands like Railink, Amcrest, Axis, Hikvision, AmpViz, and tons of no-name brands. The price range is where it gets really interesting, because the cameras can start as low as $15. They're not great, but they work. You can get a solid 4K ONVIF camera for $50 to $100. If you want the fancy stuff like 25x optical zoom or thermal imaging, you can spend as much as you want. But for a driveway, $80 gets you better image quality than the most expensive subscription doorbells. The great part is that you can buy whatever level of capability that you need. You can mix and match to your heart's desire. I, for example, have some super cheap and super sus cameras in my setup that cost about $30 a piece. I also have some nice pan, tilt, and zoom cameras that are quite a bit more expensive. And the best part is that I don't really need to worry about how compromised the super cheap cameras are. And the reason is that unless your router is a potato, you can prevent even the sketchiest cameras from calling home or other undesired activities. I not only block mine from the internet, but I also keep them on a separate VLAN from my trusted network devices. And on the subject of special cameras, I can already hear you saying, "But Dad, I have a doorbell camera." Well, good news. You can replace that Ring doorbell with an ONVIF capable one. Look at the Railink video doorbell or the Amcrest AD410. They look just as sleek, they have the same two-way audio, but they also have local microSD slots, and more importantly, they can talk to your server, not Jeff Bezos's. I have a floodlight camera. Well, check this out. Not only can you find ONVIF equivalents to pretty much any cloud camera, you can find all kinds of other stuff too, like this. Or this. If you're not using someone else's server, you're going to need your own. The term server may sound expensive, but it's possible that many of you already have old, unused hardware that you can repurpose. Or you may have some newer hardware that you could also add video recording to. For many, a used PC makes the most sense, but it's generally cheapish. Then there's the cost of the network video recording or NVR software. There are commercial applications like Blue Iris, but at this point I favor Frigate, which is free. Aside from handling the camera's feeds, it can also use AI to detect people, cars, and even dogs locally on your own hardware. There are other free alternatives to Frigate like iSpy, Shinobi, and ZoneMinder. You can set up the cameras via an app or a web interface, and then you can attach them to the NVR. You secure the cameras via VLAN and/or firewall rules. You set up notification rules, recording schedules, object detection, and anything else you want in the NVR. You set up notification rules, recording schedules, object detection, or anything else you want in the NVR. Then you set up mobile viewing, with my preference being to do it through Home Assistant. To top it all off, you set up Tailscale so you can view your system from anywhere. Unlike some of my other tutorials where you are at the mercy of your router's capabilities, everything required for this is completely under your control. Here's how the cost stacks up in a few different scenarios. Especially if you have to buy some hardware, I can see where you might be wincing at the year one cost. That said, the economics of ownership clobber the economics of leasing over time. Plus, reclaiming your privacy should be worth something, right? If you want to see how cheap and easy it is to set up Proxmox, install Frigate, set up some cameras, and make it all work on the go, let me know in the comments that you want that video. What is it they say? If you can dodge a wrench, you can set up an NVR, or something like that. Convenience is great, but security shouldn't require a subscription or a privacy sacrifice. The fact that you don't know if your recordings are actually private should be a deal breaker for most. By switching to local ONVIF cameras and a setup like Frigate, you aren't just protecting your porch, you're protecting your data. If you found this video interesting or helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share this with anyone else that you think is ready to stop being a user and is ready to become an owner. If you want to support my work, please hype the video and consider becoming a member. I'm not a big deal, so it's really cheap. Depending on the tier, we can hang out on Discord, so there's that. And while I hate to ask for money, these videos take a surprising amount of time, so if you want to toss something in my tip jar, I won't stop you. And speaking of members, I want to thank new members on the screen for their support. Have a great day. Stay private, stay secure, and stop letting the cloud watch you sleep.